I'm a huge Aliens fan. It's one of the most uniquely interesting and horrifying sci fi properties out there, and the awesome novels in Dark Horse Comics provided the perfect escape to a sinister universe that slotted in nicely with the Predator franchise. Another favorite, like they were always meant to be. There's so much to love about the IP, from its twisted artistry born from H.R. Giger's fantastical mind, to the bleak vision of a future ruled by corrupt megacorporations, which seems likelier every day, to the bravado and bluster of the colonial marines, the near and far future tech, androids, spaceships, xenomorphs. Oh my! You've got horror, action, ethical quandaries, and so much more, and it's super stylish. I love it. However, I was pretty skeptical about this show when it was announced, mostly because of the Earth angle. Anything aliens related should happen somewhere out in deep space, in my opinion. It only lends to the feeling of isolation on an unfamiliar spaceship or planet. It's part of its DNA. Not to mention that I still have PTSD from those awful Alien versus Predator movies that were set on Earth.
Give me my keys. We can find them in 30 minutes or less, asshole.
The monumental disappointment over how badly they fumbled what could have been one of the coolest stories put to screen if it were simply an adaptation of the Dark Horse comic of the same name has never really left me. And then there's the tarnish of Prometheus, which was kind of a cool sci-fi film. It probably would have been better if it weren't connected to aliens. I do enjoy that movie even now because it is a beautifully shot film, and some of the concepts and scenes really stand out. But the fact remains that Ridley Scott monkeyed with the origins of the xenomorphs in a way that really put many fans off, including myself. When this new Alien series was announced, my initial excitement was quickly tempered by the subtitle, Earth, and all the baggage that comes with it. Like, if the xenomorphs are already known before the events of Alien, then how does that impact the subsequent movies in the timeline? Or how do you differentiate it from all the other alien invasion and Earth-based stories out there? Even for the franchise, it isn't the first time aliens invaded our planet. Look no further than the old Dark Horse comics that were published before Alien 3 even released, featuring a very much alive Newt and Hicks, along with Ripley. Earth War later had to be republished as the Female War, with name changes for Newt and Hicks, and an android version of Ripley, because, you know. My memory's fuzzy on the whole saga, but I don't recall it being the best tale ever told. Well, I've now seen the first 2 episodes of Alien Earth, and after all that preamble, do I think it sucks like I feared? Nope. At least not yet.
This ship collected 5 different life forms from the darkest corners of the universe.
I'll be talking about the show's setup, the characters, and the events leading into what seems to be the meat of the series going forward. So there will be some light spoilers. I'm going to avoid talking about any details or any surprises that come up, but if you want to go into this show without knowing anything at all, consider yourself warned. Right off the bat, this show lets you know it's going to be exploring some well-trodden avenues of sci-fi above and beyond xenomorphs and alien critters. There's a race for immortality of sorts taking place, with different companies pursuing different paths. You've got cyborgs, full-on androids, and hybrids. Android bodies with human minds implanted in them. I really like this kind of cyberpunk stuff. It's one of my favorite subgenres of sci-fi. And yes, we've seen this kind of thing in Alien and Aliens before, like the awesome reveal with Ash, the upgraded and more sympathetic Bishop, and Winona Ryder's Call, who's an autonomous or second-generation android created by other androids, not a corporation, and hence has more empathy and emotions beyond the hard-coded limitations of human-made synths. Here, though, for the first 2 episodes at least, these concepts and the exploration of them are at the forefront, even more so than the xenomorph, and really push those moral dilemmas of what is right and wrong, especially where megacorps are involved. It's not a bad decision, I think, because it's all done really well and allows for an exploration of deeper themes beyond weaponizing aliens, which has been done many times before in the franchise. I mean, that's pretty much what most of the stories are about. It's interesting, if a bit slow-paced, and feels very timely, seeing as how we're on the cusp of a robotics revolution ourselves. It doesn't take much imagination to see what something like an upgraded neural link and a capable robot body can evolve into. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The show takes place 2 years before the events in Alien in 2120. The Earth is apparently controlled by 5 different mega corporations, including the ever-present Weyland-Yutani, another called Dynamic, and the newest corporation, Prodigy.
There's 4 companies. They govern the entire globe.
Don't forget the new one, Prodigy.
Run by the young genius named Boy Cavalier, who refuses to wear shoes. The opening act is straight out of the original Alien. I was a bit worried at first because although it's awesome to return to those aesthetics and atmosphere, it's such a one-to-one recreation, I thought the creatives might have let their desire to pay homage enter straight-up imitation territory. Happily, it isn't that, and we're soon on to a much more expanded world, New Siam, which was clearly filmed in Bangkok with a few CG skyscrapers thrown in for good measure. The ship sequence, though, is nicely done. It's a Weyland research vessel at the end of a 65-year mission to pick up all sorts of specimens from somewhere out in space and return them for study. So, classic Weyland-Yutani behavior.
The specimens are the mission. Period.
Obviously, if you've seen the trailer, we know this ship is going to crash land on Earth, and the show doesn't spend too much time lingering on this. The most we get is a quick montage and then a scene with the cyborg security officer, Morrow, securing for impact. We don't really know what occurred on the ship at this point, and that's fine. The focus is on the aftermath anyway. Our main character is Wendy. Well, a terminally ill girl whose consciousness is transferred to an android body that she names Wendy. Maybe because Peter Pan is playing overhead in an eerily subliminal way. There's a major Peter Pan theme going on. Prodigy's island research facility is called the Neverland Ranch. Sorry, just Neverland. And the group of android kids we see later is called the Lost Boys. Anyway, Wendy is the first to undergo this radical new procedure, which apparently only children can endure because their minds are still malleable enough.
These are weird. Your breasts, they're weird. They move around when I run.
For all intents and purposes, she's dead to the outside world, including her brother, who she obsesses over and spies on as he watches Ice Age? Okay. Not sure how that movie's considered a classic in 2120, but hey, you never know. It was one of their favorite films to watch when they were young, so that's the touch point. Wendy's given access to Prodigy's software or something, so she can spy on pretty much everyone and issue various commands to systems. I don't know if that's the smartest thing to grant a child in a powerful machine body, but I suppose worse decisions have been made. Speaking of bad decisions, after the ship crash lands in New Siam, which is controlled by Prodigy, Boy Cavalier decides to allow Wendy and the other terminally ill kids who've been Borgified to act as first responders and help survivors of the crash, as a way to test their capabilities.
Send them.
Send.
Yeah. The Lost Boys. Let's see how they handle the stress.
Talk about putting your investment on the line. This is at Wendy's insistence because her brother just so happens to be a medic in a Prodigy tactical unit, which is tasked with the search and rescue operation and securing the ship, much to the Weyland-Yutani CEO's annoyance. I'll leave it there so as not to spoil anything else, but the rest of the episodes are concerned with the rescue operation, both by the brother's tactical unit and Wendy and her Lost Boys, while all the nightmare creatures contained in the ship get loose and start wreaking havoc. It's good stuff, and there's plenty of bloody bits to go along with it. Those are the broad strokes of the first 2 episodes. The themes around Wendy and the other terminally ill children are great. The whole thing is very experimental, unethical, and ripe for abuse. Wendy herself also comes off as a potentially loose cannon, as she soon realizes just how boundless her potential is, and how far her capabilities outstrip humans.
Can you move, please? I need to begin.
Go around.
So far, it's only hinted at, but I think putting immature kids' brains in superpowered bodies is the perfect recipe for disaster. I'd be disappointed if the show doesn't explore that avenue. Her brother, played by Alex Lawther, who portrayed Nemec in Andor, is a decent character, though he comes across as pretty weak sauce. He's a runty dude in a really ragtag-feeling guards unit or something. These guys don't exactly feel like frontline material. He's still broken up about his sister, as he thinks she died a while ago, and so he sits around crying to Ice Age on the shittiest projected screen I've ever seen in some slum somewhere. You need to pay that dude better. As far as the other characters go, we have Dame Sylvia, who I recognize from Game of Thrones, and who's probably the closest with Wendy at this point, although that's at a very clinical level. She's helping to create the hybrids and acts kind of like a mother figure, though she's concerned about the possible ramifications of taking an experiment like this too far.
Now we have to make their quality of life better. Otherwise, all we've done is make consumers immortal.
Boy Cavalier is far less annoying than I thought he would be, based on how the trailer portrays him. He's a genius intent on exploding human potential, but not for the money. He's essentially bored, and wants a rival intelligence that can one day challenge his own big brain, hence transposing young minds into supercomputers with nigh unlimited potential. He's also, as his name would suggest, pretty cavalier, and seems unworried about any potential fallout from seizing Weyland-Yutani's property that happened to crash land in his backyard. He's an interesting character for sure. Timothy Oliphant is the android caretaker of the hybrids. He's decent in the role, though the show hasn't given him much to do to make him stand out so far. Then we have the critters.
Is this going to be a stand-up fight, sir, or another bug hunt?
There are a few new alien creatures introduced, and they range from creepy to kind of goofy. I don't know, this eyeball octopus is kind of cool, but also a little silly. It's weird, and I'm sure it would be plenty unsettling to see this thing pop out of an animal's head and come at you, but a facehugger it is not. There are a couple blood-sucking bugs that end up being quite horrifying, like super mosquitoes, and there's a plant-like creature that, so far, we don't know the true capabilities of. And then there's the xenomorph. This thing is deadlier than almost any other xenomorph we've seen. I think the show goes a bit too far with it. It feels a bit too quick in dispatching its victims. On one hand, it's cool to see, but on the other hand, it feels kind of inconsistent, because we've seen so many times before what these creatures are capable of, and what their limits are. It's not a huge detractor, but it's noticeable. Maybe it's just an overachiever. And there's something off about the look of this alien. Maybe it's the lips. I don't know. Overall, this is a solid start to something that has a ton of potential. The unconventional take on the hybrid androids is a really cool idea, and the Wendy character is interesting and well acted. I like the setup and the world building. I mostly like the idea about the mega corporations having carved out their kingdoms on Earth. Lore-wise, it's obviously changing things by virtue of it being a prequel, but we'll have to see where it goes or how things are explained. We're only 2 episodes in, so who knows what'll happen. The tone and atmosphere of the whole thing are really good, though. The effects look solid, and the music definitely ramps up the tension. There's already plenty of action and some horrifying kills to go with the more introspective parts, so it feels well balanced. Oh, and each episode has so far ended with some bangin' songs. The Mob Rules by Black Sabbath from the Dio days, putting the show in fine company with the heavy metal animated film from 1981, and Stinkfist by Tool. So I have mad respect for that alone. You're speaking to my soul here. Beyond that, this was all filmed in Thailand, especially in Bangkok, but also down south in places like Krabi and Phuket by the ocean. That's cool to see, and I love that this is set somewhere other than the US. It gives it a more exotic feeling. Noah Hawley, the showrunner and writer, did the critically acclaimed Fargo, which I haven't seen, and Legion, which I did see the first season of and liked. And he seems to be doing a great job with Alien here. It doesn't feel generic or too derivative. I'm definitely excited for what's coming next. An alien story set on Earth that's actually good? Color me shocked.
Whoopie fucking do.
Well, that's all I've got for now. Have you seen the episodes, or what's your favorite Alien movie? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching.